Senator Joe Comerford.
Good morning, Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Secretary, for the work of your excellent team. They are expert and dedicated, and they are so consequential to the Hampshire Franklin Worcester District, which is, as you know, where I work. I just want to say a few thank yous. Thank you to the Clean Energy Center. The work is invaluable at GCC and UMass, and if you haven't seen the HVAC work, it is really emblematic of exactly what a state investment can and should do. So thank you so much. Thank you for the careful work around solar siting. I second appreciation for Undersecretary Judge. You have been steadfast in front of the people I work for and helping to negotiate, and of course Commissioner Mahoney as well, helping us navigate what is a pretty existential transition for us in Western Massachusetts. Thank you. Thank you to Undersecretary Antos for all the work of realigning and tweaking the Municipal Vulnerability Program to stop it from unintentionally disadvantaging small communities. That's been a very good and important piece of work. Thank you, of course, to the Commissioner of MDAR for the steadfast support of farmers. As you know, between 2001-2016, over 27,000 acres of state farmland was lost forever to cultivation. It's not coming back. Farmers earn about 95 cents on every dollar they spend, our farmers in Massachusetts. It's a completely unworkable economic proposition, and we've already seen significant federal cuts to ag. So we are bracing in Western Massachusetts around all of these issues. Secretary, you spoke about coastal resilience. As you know, I can't envision a world where there isn't also a focus on inland waterways. Thank you for acknowledging the devastating floods of 2023. And I am glad for the partnership between the Healey-Driscoll administration and the legislature, which got especially, really first ever in the Commonwealth, funding directly to farmers. But I think we must have an answer to both resilience and protection for municipalities. I'm hoping to see that, as you know, in the forthcoming environmental bond bill. And we have some Western Mass people here. There is a letter to your office, as you know, asking from every municipality, every state legislator, all planning agencies, asking us to have a focused state effort on behalf of cities and towns and of course, farmers. I appreciate our ongoing conversation also about what is fair recompense for the Quabbin Reservoir. 87 years ago on April 27th, the state disincorporated 4 municipalities and flooded it, so largely Eastern Massachusetts could have drinking water. And I do think that is a question for us about how best to go forward, knowing what we know now about the value of water and knowing what it takes to steward that water and the sacrifice of those communities. I wanted just to say a few things about pilot. And this is one of the most important lines for me in the budget. So pilot payments, as you know, are made based on the property tax value growth of state-owned land in a municipality relative to the growth of the value of state-owned land throughout the Commonwealth. So the formula, I believe, is terribly unfair to municipalities in Western Massachusetts, which are just not seeing the property tax value growth above the state average and are penalized then because of that in their payments. Even if the state acquires more land in a municipality and takes it off their tax rolls, the town may receive a lower pilot payment. This is the perverse thing about this formula, just because the state-owned land elsewhere in Eastern Massachusetts largely may have increased in value. On top of that, these communities are not rewarded for stewarding the natural and working lands that have what I believe a high ecosystem service value. If we don't reform this formula, we can continue to invest in state-owned land pilot. That line item, which I certainly am proud to fight with you for, but we won't be helping the communities I represent, which conserve critical natural land that we need, I believe, to meet our climate and biodiversity goals. Here are just 2 of many, many, many illustrative examples. The town of Warwick, which has 11,879 acres of state-owned land, 99% of which is protected, receives $13 per acre. In contrast, municipalities in eastern Massachusetts see much higher reimbursements, like Acton, no shade on Acton, but it receives $785 per acre for 139 acres of state-owned land, none of which is protected. That's just about the value of land, not about what that land is doing for us. Also, from fiscal year 2015 to 2020, the town of Peru lost nearly 30% of its reimbursement after acquiring an additional 141 acres because of its decreasing property values relative to the state average. I want to recognize that Representative Joan Machino is in the back. Representative Machino and I have a bill on really valuing ecosystem services and natural and working lands, which I think is part of this overall conversation. So thank you for, and to your team, really for trying to work through what is the right way forward here. And I'm hoping that we can make this tweak even as we lean in to pilot. So here's my question. I'd love you to help us understand the gap in funding caused by the federal budget cuts, and whether or not the administration has a plan to establish a new source of revenue to fill the gap to help us meet our energy, climate mitigation, adaptation, conservation, and biodiversity, or agriculture goals and food security goals. And how can the legislature be a better partner with you? We see you get hit, in every headline, headline after headline after headline. The work that you're doing is being chipped away by cuts by the federal government, and we want to help. But we need to know, one, the impact of those cuts, and two, what you're planning so that we can really get in there and help as much as we possibly can. We want to, as I hope you know.
Really appreciate that, and appreciate your comments on the issues with respect to your constituents. There are very few people that are as articulate and what's the word I want to use? Tenacious with respect to something. Yeah, I would not say that. But we do really appreciate the advocacy that you do on behalf of your constituents. So on the federal funding front, part of the problem is that it's all very uncertain and changes all the time. One day you hear this, and then another day it's something different. And it's hard to separate from what's real and what's not. And it's hard to separate what, there are a lot of things that are in litigation. So it's hard to know what's going to happen at the end of that legislation. Will our Attorney General has done a terrific job in bringing several suits and winning injunctions and TROs to prevent some of these things from happening, but it's uncertain. So some things we feel good about, like the grants that we won and that are rightfully ours. We're fighting for it, and the Attorney General is working hard on that, and so far she's been successful. So we're hoping that will remain. As far as sort of the regular block grants and that kind of thing, we have seen very recently the federal government eliminating programs that are really important. And that some of the food grants just this week were what they're saying eliminated. Yes, right? So I think the governor has said the state's not going to be able to fill all the gaps. That being said, I think got a lot of creative minds. We have a lot of people who care about these issues, and I think working with you, I think that we can at least use our state resources in the most effective way that we can.
Thank you very much. And just know, I think I'm speaking for all of my colleagues, right? We would welcome conversations about how we can be with you at this pretty threatening time. Thank you.